Yo, yo, everybody, what is up? It is your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, Dr. Ryan Elton. Listen, obliques biomechanically look like, and I learned in school that they help open outflares, okay? An SI joint. So, if you're new to following me, I published a paper that statistically made medical history and readership. Um, that it's called root cause of SI joint dysfunction, which I believe, in my clinical observation, is the most common cause of back pain, and I have a chronic low back pain clinic. And it's caused by an upslip and or out flare of the pelvis, up out. Okay, so you can join my clinicians only. Join my school group below, and it's free. And I have my papers in there for chronic pain patients that follow me. If you want my papers to bring to a physical therapist or chiropractor or whoever to do the rehab with you, go to my website, weltonmethods.com, click publications, and you can get my papers there. Okay, now, this is a really interesting story. Okay, so SI joint dysfunction, I propose in that paper and in my courses and all that I go much more in depth, is caused by an upslip and or out flare of the pelvis. Now, I usually see a sacral rotation to the same direction there as well. But years ago, I would say probably 8 years ago, I will never forget this patient. Okay. So people ask me about my protocols all the time. Like, dude, how'd you come up with these protocols? Like, and they always say to me that these are so simple. And I'm like, yeah, I think everybody makes these things complex. So, but like the famous saying by Isaac Newton is the answer is in the simplicity of things, not in the multiplicity and confusion of things. I agree with that. That's been my experience in life. And, so my SI protocol is 4 exercises, right? So, and I hear from people all over the world, like, dude, that's crazy. It's helping me in Africa, my patients, all kinds of stuff, right? Um, but when it comes to SI joint, okay, what I did is I took what I believed was, once I figured out in my patients that it was being caused by an upslip and or out flare, which in the chronic pain world, it's usually upslip on one side and bilateral out flares I find in here. And once I figured out what was happening, I went back to my books. Actually, I remembered a chart that I learned in school, that I had in school. And it had the different pelvic obliquities and the different muscles to strengthen. Like for, anterior rotation, right? Stretch the hip flexors, strengthen the hamstrings of the innominate, right? To bring it back, right? If it's like that, right? And for an upslip, it was gluteus medius, right? So I went back to this actual chart that I had in orthopedic science. I literally kept my notes from college, okay? And it said in my notes that the groin adductors, okay, and the obliques, okay, you strengthen for an out flare, right? I had this patient, okay? And I will never forget this guy. And I showed him what to do on the first visit, okay? And he had a SI joint, upslip, out flare, bilateral out flares, and he had a sacral rotation, right? He had pain in the sacrum region and at the base of the spine from a sacral shear. So when it torsions, it can shear at the base of the spine, called sacral shear, okay? And so I'm working with this guy, and I gave him my SI protocol at the time, which was lower trunk rotation, you know, take my courses to read my paper, and lower trunk rotation, piriformis stretch, ab, and adduction. Okay, but there's rules to it. There's a system to it. Okay, and so I also gave him oblique. So I had oblique exercises at the same time, right? Because in my chart from school, it says the obliques help. And biomechanically, it looks like it's obvious that that helps, okay? So the obliques right here, right? Here. And when you strengthen them, it should go like that, right? Should go like that, right? So I gave this guy all my exercises, right? Including the obliques. his sacrum pain went away. The pain that he described on the where people call it piriformis spasm. Well, it was irritated because it was tailbone was twisted. Okay, so the sacral pain went away and the sacral shear pain went away, but he still had this SI joint dysfunction. The upslip went away because he was doing abduction for gluteus medius strengthening, right? And we're like 5 months into this rehab, right? And I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, what on earth is happening here? Why isn't this patient not getting better? You know, finally, out of frustration one day, I was over there actually. I'll never forget this. I was over there and I go, show me those exercises you're doing at home. He showed me the exercises and I'm like, where's the adduction exercise? You know? And he's like, what? And I'm like, you haven't been doing adduction? You know? And I'm like, oh my God, you know? And I was like, that's crazy. And I'm like, but you've been doing obliques, right? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, man, you need to do adduction too. We went over this, right? Now I give videos so that people don't miss that, right? They have it right there on their phone. But when I realized what was happening, I'm like, well, clearly this guy isn't going to get better, or obliques is a hoax. And so I put him, I'm like, no, man, you got to do adduction. And every time you had 3 sets of 30, you got to go up and weight, right? So I made sure he was doing adduction, and then boom, 2 months later, he was better. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That this guy had probably the strongest obliques in the Tampa Bay area, and it did nothing for his outflare. And I'm like, this is crazy, you know? And I'm like, but I learned through this frustration in him and me, I learned something. And I was like, wow. As soon as I put him on, within weeks, he started to get better. And I'm like, despite the fact that biomechanically, you go from here to, your obliques, right? Biomechanically, you would think, and in my chart from school, it says that should do it. And if you look at it, you would think that, right? It didn't freaking work. And I'm like, it's crazy. That's crazy to me. But I realized how important adduction is. And if you noticed in my SI protocol, there is no obliques in that. Okay? Because, yeah, you could say, Ryan, you tried it, right? But like you could say, Ryan, you tried it for one patient, give it other. No, I don't need another demonstration in my mind. I'm like, that guy did obliques for 5 freaking months and had no relief from SI joint dysfunction. And I put him on adduction and he started to get better within a few weeks. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, wow, did I just learn something here? So much of my protocols that I developed was this, whittling things down, like traction. I have 3 patients right now. They're all jacked up from traction, which happens. They're all mad at their chiropractor or physical therapist who did it. And I'm like, you can't predict them. It's like 10%. Someone's going to have a traction reaction. But I saw the meta-analysis on traction. I don't read normal studies. To me, that they're always wrong and statistically proven that everything you've learned, is wrong in like 3 to 5 years, right? And but I will look at it a meta-analysis. Meta-analysis to me are very are accurate, generally speaking, I find. 15 years later, they do a study of all studies, right? And they found that traction is a hoax. It only helps in the short term, not the long term. I had done traction for years with my patients, right? And 10% of them would have traction reaction. They'd be all mad at me. Like, these patients are all mad at their last provider. But like, you can't predict it, So I try to start slow, all that stuff, right? But I have protocols, obviously, in my Rehab Results course. You can join my school group below, okay? It's free, join it. And then I have my my advanced clinical mentorship where I have all my protocols, a 59% discount, all my myofascial method, everything, my 1,000 pages of maps of body. It's literally a steal. And I took it away. I had to know. And I don't trust studies. I have to figure it out for myself. And I know what my success rate, why I get exceptional results with low back pain, herniated disc, whatever, right? And I took away traction. And sure enough, my patients were still getting better at the same rate. There was no difference, And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I've been wasting my patients' time with this. No, I herniated a disc in my neck and I put myself on cervical traction and I had C6 ridic. And I put myself on cervical traction. And when my neck decompressed, it relieved it temporarily, but it would come back. So I agree personally, and from what I see clinically as a clinician with my patients, I agree with that meta-analysis. You should never trust anything or anybody. Like that's how you get into like a control system, like use your own mind, test things out. Like even me, man, like you should be, like I succeed in my mind. I succeed at what I'm doing here, teaching, if you think for yourself. Okay? Stop following the gurus. Even me, test it. Test what they're saying. I know your success rates. I know my success rates with these certain conditions. So I can test it, and I can say, yeah, no, that works, or no, I just see no change. It's pointless, and that is what I have been doing for years. And I whittled these protocols down, okay, for people to test. So join my free school group below. I have my advanced clinical mentorship. I hear all the time. I read it on Reddit. It's interesting on Reddit because people just talk because it's anonymous, right? And everyone's looking for a mentor in their clinic. But like, that's a pretty narrow space to find a mentor, right? The question is what results are they getting? What results are they getting? Like, great, they have 20 years experience. I could show you PTAs that could run circles around DPTs with 20 years experience, and I've been teaching for over a decade. So like, what results are they getting? What percentage of their patients are getting better, right? Like bottom line, that's the goal, is to get people better. What percent are they getting better? If I was going to have a mentor, I'd ask them, what percent of your patients get better? Because the average is not good. No one wants to hear this, but I'm going to say it. Years ago, I was teaching. Now, ChatGPT says the average is like 70-something% success rate. To me, we need improvement. I have students around the world that'll tell you that they're generally not worried about their patients getting better, even in the chronic pain world, using these protocols. I post these to my social media, have posted them for years, their comments and their testimonials about that. But having said that, generally, ChatGPT says 70-something%, but that's not even in the chronic pain world. Okay, that's like ankle sprains, which get better on their own usually, anyways. Or MCL tears, which will get better on their own, right? So what I found, I talked to the COO of a major corporation in Texas, and at one of my courses, and I'm like, I knew he knew the numbers because he was COO, and I said, what percentage of your patients are getting better at this massive corporation? And he said 50%. And I'm like, oh, and I was like, what percent of your patients quit? 50%. Now, I'm not a mathematician. Having said that, I'm pretty sure that equals 25%. And I'm like, 25%? 50% didn't even see the point to come back. And of that, only 50% were getting better. I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that was a PT mill. I'm knocking PT mills, but I'm not knocking the people in it. When my patients come in, they're all PO'd at their last physical therapist. I'm like, it's not their fault. I'm like, they're being abused at work, just like physicians are. They're forced to see too many patients a day. It's not their fault that they gave you an exercise program and go sit in the corner and do it. It is what it is. It's not their fault. Trust me, they want to spend time with you. I always defend physical therapists that get dogged to me. because the system's broken. And I know that you all are tired of it too. So anyways, the success rate is not good. If you're looking for a clinical mentor, I have an advanced clinical mentorship and I get exceptional results in a clinic where just about most of my patients come in and say they failed everything. So type situations. So, and then also if you are tired of being burnt out or you own a cash-based clinic and you are stuck in your cash-based clinic, or I have a clinic where I work basically half a day and do in a month what most people make in a year in a cash-based clinic. And the reason why is because there are diagnoses that nobody knows what to do about. And I have a whole clinic. I call it the Outfield Everything Clinic. A whole clinic. I've listened to these people, how they talked about their condition, the words they used, how they described it, and the things that they couldn't do in life. And I literally put those into my marketing, their words. And they already know what they have before they walked in. And they're not even a clinician because they keep seeing my marketing all the time. And they don't know about me and Welton methods and that I'm gonna invent. They know nothing. A lot of them don't even know I'm a physical therapist. It's wild. They just see these ads are so effective, and I haven't even changed them in 8 years. You know, you're supposed to change your marketing all the time, right? They're so effective, I don't even change it. Anyways, I teach people how to open and run cash-based clinics. This is for serious people only. If you are not serious and you just want to keep plugging along or whatever, but if you want to have a job satisfaction that you probably didn't know could exist, helping people that have failed everything, literally not to change their lives, save their lives, they will tell you this. Like in my sacral paper, like 57% of them had thought about this, I documented that. So join my school group below. I talk about my cash-based business. I show you the numbers and I show you how I'm doing this. Okay. People say, oh, it's impossible. People make generally this, that, whatever in a cash-based business. I'm like, yeah, it's impossible if you do it that way, but when you do it the way that I developed, I'll show you how it works. Okay. Anyways, that's that. But obliques have nothing to do with SI. If you ask me, I've tried it. And I was shocked and I was pissed. So that's why obliques are not in my SI protocol, okay? Because of that patient. I learned a lot. A lot of times I don't like to learn to struggle, but it's generally how it works in life, right? Anyways, everybody have a great day. I love you all. Join my free school group below, clinicians only, okay? Peace.